Minot Air Force Base once again had an economic impact of more than $500 million to the local economy over the past year. The 5th Bomb Wing Budget Office says the base had an estimated impact of more than $621 million in 2023. The wing presenting its findings to local business leaders this week. Now that's a roughly $26 million increase from 2022's impact. The base accounts for roughly 6,400 jobs on base and nearly 2,000 more off of it. It has a population of roughly 11,800. Minot Air Force Base houses 2 of the 3 wings of what's known as the nuclear triad, with the 5th Bomb Wing and the 91st Missile Wing.